Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and thanks for joining me for another video. So today's video is going to be an uncommon comparison video because I'm going to be comparing not the typical or rectangular versus square Chanel Mini, but I'm going to be comparing the vintage style of square Mini, which is no longer in production, to that of the current style of square Mini. Now, for a little bit of a history lesson, this style, which is called the vintage square Mini, first came out in the 1980s and it was in production until about the mid-2000s. At that point, Chanel decided to tweak the design, and in late 2009, we started seeing the current style of the Mini, as we now call it. So that is why this is called the vintage square Mini, and this is now known as just the regular or current style of square Mini. What are the differences between these two bags? Number one, the dimensions of the vintage square Mini are slightly different from those of the current version. For starters, the strap drop from the top of the chain when it's fully extended to the top of the bag is 21 inches on the vintage Mini. The length is 7 inches. The height is about 5¼ inches. And the depth is about 2.5 inches. Now, comparing that to the current style of the square Mini, the length of the chain on the current style is 20 inches, so we lost an inch of strap in length. The length of the bag itself also got a bit shorter, a little bit smaller. It is now only 6.75 inches. And the height of the bag got shorter as well. It is now only 5 inches compared to 5¼ on the vintage style. But the area where it did gain was in the base. So the depth of the bag is 3 inches here compared to 2.5 on the vintage square Mini. Now, the second difference is actually the attachment point. If you see here, the vintage Minis have this O-ring, which is punched directly into the leather, and this is all metal. And then if we open up the bag, you'll see that the attachment, the O-ring, is actually attached to this metal S-hook. So that, I think, affords a very secure connection because it's metal on metal contact. And this S-hook, in turn, attaches to the metal links in the actual chain strap of the handbag. Now, in comparison, the current style of Chanel Mini, as you can see, there are no more O-rings here, no metal pieces. So when we open up the bag, actually what we will see is that the attachment is now a leather tab that is sewed directly into the lining of the bag, and that in turn attaches to the metal chain bits on the strap. The next difference is obviously just the look and feel and the overall rigidity of the pieces. So I've noticed with my vintage Mini that even though it's made of lambskin and it is still quite soft, there's something about the structure of the bag, like these pieces here, the base of the bag is really very solid, and whatever they use to shape the bag is very rigid. So even if I stuff this bag full, it still holds its shape and really won't bend or bulge too much. The current Mini, I feel overall just has like a softer design, a less boxy design, and I much prefer the longer flap of the current style compared to this one, just because I feel like this one is a little bit more unbalanced. It's a little bit bottom heavy, and bringing down the flap I think just kind of gives it a better proportion, at least in my eye. That's just my personal opinion. The bag is also a little bit more malleable, but my caviar bag, even though it is rigid, I can mold it a little bit more, or it gives a little bit more. This one is just it just keeps its shape and is a lot more rigid in the feel as well as in the looks compared to the current style. So those were the differences. Now, what are the similarities? What did they keep the same between the bags? So for starters, the grommets are the same. It's still 2 grommets on the design, and the back pocket is still there, and the chain design, the length changed, but the spacing of the metal links between the chains, that hasn't really changed, although the tone of the gold between the vintage and my current mini has changed. I noticed that on my vintage flap, the tone of the gold here is a lot more yellow, lot darker gold. Now, both of these bags are still gold plated, as indicated by the marks here on the top of the C's, but just looking at them side by side, the older bag's tone of gold is a lot darker, but I actually prefer the lighter tone of the gold on the newer style, so that's just me. Now, talking about the inside of the bag, the design is still the same. So you still have one main big empty compartment, and then you have here the zipped compartment, and then you just have an open pocket here. Okay, so that is pretty much the comparison in terms of looks and size between these two bags. Now to get to the fun part, which is really what fits inside and do they both hold the same amount. So first thing to go in here is my Louis Vuitton zippy coin purse, my Louis Vuitton clays, my MAC pressed powder, hand sanitizer, lipstick, a rechargeable battery, and then I also have a vial of perfume. This is actually looking a little bit full already, and I forgot that I even have my phone here. Put the phone in there. So in terms of width, it is pretty much packed to capacity. You can see the front bowing out a little bit, and this is just a little bit too much than I would normally carry, but let's just see if it'll close just for the sake of comparison. So height wise, I think this is where the height comes into play, because if you can see, there's still a bit of room up top, and I can really quickly put in my earphones in there and the lightning charger in there. So I'm actually scared it might not be able to close. Okay, it does close. Oh, and I forgot, just a Muni card. I just stuck that into the back compartment. So this is a lot of stuff in here. This is way more than I would normally carry, but it's good to know that if I needed to, I could carry this much stuff in the vintage flap. Now, let us take out all of this stuff in here, and then I will transfer it into here. So first in is my zippy coin purse, my Louis Vuitton clays. Do a little bit of Tetris here. Okay, so my phone is in there, and then we put the MAC pressed powder, the hand sanitizer, and the lipstick. And there's still a bit more room. Yeah, I can put, so that's it there, that's all the stuff. Then we can put this one in. So the length, nope, that's it. So this is where the length of the bag comes into play, whereas I could put these three things, the juice pack, side by side with the rest of the things. I can no longer do that because it's a little bit, the length is a little bit less than the vintage one. So I'm gonna have to put the juice pack just on top and put the earphones there and the charger cable, and oh gosh, please close. I can't close the bag. The flap just won't go that far down. Oops, forgot the card, but we'll put that in there. The back pocket, no difference. So in order to make this fit, what do I have to take out? Let me take out the charger. Let's see if that helps. And okay. Oof. Okay, all right. So taking out the charger allowed me to close the bag, but that is honestly stuffed to capacity. As you can see, the sides are deforming a bit, and also here. So this is a very quick way to deform your Chanel handbag, and I'm not comfortable doing this. So let's take out a bit more things. I'll remove my compact. Okay, so, okay, the bag closes a little bit easier now, but the sides are still a little bit deformed, if you can tell. So I think it's really the height of the bag, and surprisingly enough, the design of the flap, even though I love this design, that the flap is a bit longer, it seems that having the flap shorter and having the C's up a little more actually allow the bag more leeway to close. The fact that you can't close the bag enough, it can't meet the clasp, that is actually working against the bag in general. And overall, again, the length of this bag is length is less than the vintage flap, and the height. So those two things, you just take it away, and these are the two things that are no longer able to fit comfortably in this bag. Oh, let me do one more thing for you guys just so you can see the difference in the strap. So 20 inches for this one and 21 inches for this one. So as you can see, the black one hangs a little bit higher. That's where the difference is. And this is the vintage one. And honestly, both of them look fine. There's not that big of a difference. When I walk and I carry them both on the shoulder, they're both quite comfortable. And now doing it crossbody, have it like this. And you can see here, this is also where the 1 inch comes into play, because this one sits right at my hip, whereas this one hits just below the hip. But for all intents and purposes, both of them still look fine. Overall, just empirical data says that because the vintage mini is just a little bit taller and a little bit longer than the current version, this can fit more stuff. Unfortunately, this is no longer in production and we only have this one. I do still prefer the look, the overall design of this one, especially the longer flap. To me, it just gives it a more balanced look. But I am a little bit sad that Chanel decided to make this a little bit smaller, because I think if they kept the dimensions of this bag but just changed the flap and just, you know, kept the current design where it's just a little bit more rounded and less square and boxy, I think that would have been great. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys found that helpful. If you did, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and like the video. If you have any questions, please post them in the comment section down below, and subscribe so you'll be notified when I do my next uploads. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.